Malkin. She joins us right now from Colorado Springs. Good morning to you, Michelle.
Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you very much. A couple of nights ago, the President of the United States said the state of our union is strong, but we're going to have to spend a lot of money. You don't think the President had the right message for us on Tuesday night, do you?
No, and of course it was a retread of his message since he took office. Spend, tax, exploit, blame, repeat. And I think that there were a couple of points where reality just struck most people in the head, where he remains in this bubble. For example, the idea that he's going to hire people to fix our infrastructure after having squandered $1 trillion on a stimulus that was supposed to fix our infrastructure. You know, the solution to the last batch of failed billion-dollar green energy boondoggles is more boondoggles. And then this idea, of course, that somehow now it's the government and Washington that are going to lead the way on innovation. We're going to have him remake every American high school and somehow establish these innovation centers that are partnerships between the public and the private. After this man spent the last election cycle bashing innovators and wealth creators, the people who actually have been responsible for innovation over the last 20, 30 years, venture capitalists and people in the very industries that he demonized.
Yeah, but rather than, take a look at and do analysis like you're doing right there, the mainstream media, what do they talk about after the State of the Union? Marco Rubio was thirsty. He's obviously disqualified himself from being president because he's thirsty.
Well, there are a lot of people who quipped on State of the Union night that the way that the media sees it is that somehow it's a crime for Marco Rubio to drink water because their commander-in-chief walks on water.
Right. But by the way, Hillary Clinton looked like she's running. Bill Clinton let that slip out, evidently, to somebody. Let's talk about Chicago and gun violence. It looks like the president's going there. We know the First Lady went there for a funeral over somebody that was shot at between the inaugurations, tragically. And now a lot of focus is in Chicago, and they're going to link that with gun violence. There is a lot of guns, but it's hard for me to believe that a lot of the gangs and a lot of the criminals that are shooting each other are going to be waiting for new laws to abide by.
Right, of course, in the Windy City, which has the strictest gun laws in the country and yet has the bloodiest death tolls as a result of gun violence. If this man wants to have a national conversation about Chicago and who failed Chicago, I am all ready and willing to have it. And even setting aside gun control policy, look, the Democrats and liberal progressives have had a monopoly on running that city into the ground, into a bloody hellhole for upwards of a century now. And if you look at the top echelon of strategists, the consiglieres, the people that run the Obama administration, these are the people who have failed Chicago youth and Chicago families. Since the time that Saul Alinsky was pounding the pavement there in Chicago, since the time that Barack Obama was cutting his teeth there as a community organizer, what has happened? Who has failed Chicago youth? They've poured billions of dollars into trying to rescue public housing hellholes and the Chicago City schools. And even over the last couple of years, they spent upwards of $30 million in state and federal taxes to try and save at-risk youth. What good has it done them? More failure.
Yeah, that 15-year-old being shot should have been a much bigger story than it actually ended up being. Michelle, we got to wrap it up there. Hope you have a good rest of the week. Happy Valentine's Day. We'll see you next week.
You too.
You bet. And if you want to read her column, Who Failed Chicago, it's terrific. It's at michellemalkin.com.